a moment that no one saw coming. The air inside Family Worship Center was electric, yet tender. People had gathered for what they thought would be another ordinary Sunday service filled with gospel music, worship, and the familiar warmth of the Swaggart family's ministry. But instead, something extraordinary happened. Jill Swaggart, the wife of Gabriel Swaggart and a central figure in the Ministries worship team, stood before the congregation with trembling hands and eyes brimming with tears. Her voice cracked, her heart poured out, and her words carried a weight no one could have predicted. Jill announced her pregnancy, a moment of joy, but also one that carried layers of unspoken meaning. As soon as she spoke the words, the church erupted. Hands shot up in praise, people cried openly, and the sound of hallelujahs filled the room. Yet even amid the celebration, whispers began to ripple through the pews. Why? Because according to insiders, Jill's speech wasn't just about joy. It had an undertone that many believe was a subtle message, perhaps even a warning. The emotional speech that brought tears. Jill's speech, delivered with an unshakable conviction, was short but powerful. She spoke about new beginnings, the beauty of family, and how God's timing is always perfect. She reminded the church that blessings sometimes come after seasons of trial, and that this new life was a symbol of God's mercy. People cried because they felt the raw sincerity in her words. She wasn't simply sharing personal news. She was preaching a sermon straight from her soul. But what caught attention was a line she repeated twice. Not everyone will rejoice with you when God blesses you, but those who truly love you will. The line hit hard. Some clapped, some nodded, but others exchanged glances. Who was Jill talking about? Who wouldn't rejoice? And why did she feel the need to include that in such a sacred, joyful announcement? Whispers begin. Was it a direct message? According to sources close to the ministry, Jill's choice of words wasn't accidental. One insider claimed, "Everyone saw the tears, but few noticed the fire in her eyes." That line was aimed at someone specific. But at who? Some believe it was directed at critics outside the church who constantly question the Swaggart's ministry. Others believe it may have been an internal jab, hinting at quiet tensions within the family or staff. The moment became less about the pregnancy and more about decoding Jill's true meaning. The church's mixed reaction. For the congregation, it was a roller coaster of emotions. On one hand, there was pure happiness. Seeing Jill and Gabriel preparing to welcome a child felt like a blessing to the church family. On the other hand, the repeated line about not everyone rejoicing planted seeds of speculation. One attendee told reporters after service, "I couldn't stop crying, but at the same time I couldn't stop thinking, why would she say that? Who wouldn't rejoice at such a beautiful blessing?" It was as if Jill opened a wound and healed it at the same time. Inside the Swaggart family, tension or unity. The Swaggart family has always been under the spotlight. Jimmy Swaggart's legacy, Donnie's fiery preaching, Francis's strong leadership, and Gabriel's role as heir apparent have all created a powerful but sometimes tense family dynamic. Jill, though often quieter, has always stood out for her authenticity. But her pregnancy announcement, with its layered words, has sparked new questions. Was Jill hinting at family disagreements behind closed doors? Did she feel unsupported by some within the church? Or was it just an innocent phrase that people blew out of proportion? Sources suggest there may be more to the story. A celebration with a shadow. The joy of Jill Swaggart's pregnancy should have been the only focus that Sunday. Yet, for many, her carefully chosen words hung in the air like a cloud. The phrase, "Not everyone will rejoice with you when God blesses you," was more than a testimony. It was a spark that lit rumors, doubts, and uncomfortable questions. Why would Jill bring up the idea of people not rejoicing at such a beautiful moment? Who was she addressing, and why did she stress it not once, but twice? For weeks after the announcement, members of the Family Worship Center couldn't stop debating. Online forums lit up. Clips of her speech circulated on TikTok and YouTube, generating thousands of comments. Theories begin to emerge. The outsider's theory: some believe Jill was addressing critics of the Swaggart family. For decades, the ministry has been under fire, from Jimmy Swaggart's scandals of the past to modern-day accusations of nepotism and greed. According to this theory, Jill was simply warning the church, "The world may not celebrate with us, but we stand strong." The insider's theory: others whisper something darker, that Jill's comment was meant for someone inside the ministry. Was there jealousy brewing? Was someone unhappy about Gabriel's rising influence and the continuation of the Swaggart legacy through this new child? The personal theory: a few speculated that Jill herself may have felt unsupported by people close to her during her pregnancy journey. and the line reflected her own pain. Each theory had weight, each added fuel to the fire. Who could she have meant? Sources close to the family hinted that Jill's words might have been aimed at a small circle of individuals, not the congregation as a whole. One insider claimed, "There's always been a quiet rivalry within the Swaggart family. Jill has always carried herself with grace. But make no mistake, she knows when to send a message." That line wasn't random. Speculation quickly turned toward Frances Swaggart, the matriarch known for her fierce and unapologetic leadership. Could Jill have been sending a subtle reminder that the new generation, the Gabriel and Jill generation, was stepping into power? Others argued it could have been directed toward unnamed staff members or relatives who felt overshadowed. The power struggle inside the ministry. Behind the choir stands and bright lights, the Swaggart empire has often wrestled with generational transitions. Jimmy, though elderly, still commands respect. Donnie holds the pulpit with authority. Frances maintains financial and administrative control. But Gabriel, alongside Jill, represents the future. Jill's pregnancy was more than personal news. It symbolized continuity. It meant the Swaggart name, ministry, and influence would carry on. For some, that was reason to rejoice. For others, perhaps it was reason to worry. If Jill's line was indeed intentional, it could have been a quiet acknowledgement of this tension. The congregation split. Church members themselves couldn't agree. The emotional camp. Many insisted Jill's words were nothing but encouragement, reminding people that not everyone in life will cheer for your blessings. They saw it as timeless wisdom, not an attack. The suspicious camp, others swore Jill had a deeper target in mind, pointing to her tone, body language, and repeated phrasing. One longtime member summed it up. "I've been in this church for years. That wasn't just a pregnancy announcement, it was a statement. Jill doesn't waste words." Online reaction, support versus speculation. On Facebook, hundreds of comments poured in. "So proud of Jill. This is God's miracle and a blessing to the church." Did anyone else feel like she was talking about someone? "I couldn't shake it off. We love you, Jill, but please, don't bring division with coded messages." YouTube clips racked up views in the millions. TikTok users slowed down the footage, analyzing every pause and hand gesture. Reddit threads speculated endlessly. Was that shade? Is the Swaggart family divided? The internet did what it does best. It turned a heartfelt announcement into a viral storm. The burden Jill carried. Lost in the chaos, however, is Jill herself. For years she has walked a fine line, balancing her role as wife, mother, worship leader, and public figure. Unlike Frances or Donnie, Jill isn't known for fiery statements. She's known for warmth, humility, and grace. So for her to drop a line that sparked such controversy only added to the speculation. She knew exactly what she was saying. Insiders say Jill has faced her share of private struggles, loneliness, criticism, and the immense pressure of being the new face of a family empire. This pregnancy then wasn't just about a child, it was about legacy, survival, and perhaps finally finding her own voice. Could the hidden asar be about Gabriel? Some daring commentators even suggested Jill's words weren't aimed outward, but inward, at her own husband, Gabriel. Could their marriage have seen private storms that the congregation never glimpsed? Was she reminding even him that true love rejoices, not resentment? Though this remains speculation, the mere possibility set tongues wagging. After all, ministry marriages are rarely immune to strain. The bigger picture, symbolism of. To fully grasp the weight of Jill's words, one must understand what her pregnancy symbolizes. To the congregation, a blessing, a sign of God's favor, and proof that the Swaggart line continues. To the family, power shifting toward the younger generation, ensuring Gabriel and Jill's central role. To critics, another reason to scrutinize the family, pointing to wealth, influence, and control. Thus, her announcement wasn't just about joy, it was political, spiritual, and deeply symbolic. Frances Swaggart silent. Perhaps the most telling reaction was the silence of Frances Swaggart. Normally quick to address rumors or assert authority, she has said nothing publicly about Jill's speech. Some interpret this as support. Others interpret it as disapproval. One source whispered, "Frances doesn't like surprises. If Jill wanted to send a message, she did, and Frances heard it loud and clear." Where does this leave the church? For now, Family Worship Center remains united on the surface, celebrating Jill and Gabriel's news, praising God for new life. Yet beneath the surface, questions linger. Will the Swaggart family tensions grow as the next generation rises? Was Jill's pregnancy speech a declaration of unity or quiet defiance? And most importantly, who exactly was she talking about when she said, "Not everyone will rejoice"? Final thoughts. Whether Jill's line was a slip of honesty, a subtle dig, or simply misunderstood, one thing is clear: her pregnancy speech has become one of the most talked about moments in the Swaggart family's history. It left the church in tears, it left the internet buzzing, and it left a mystery hanging in the air, one that may not be answered for years to come. In the end, perhaps that was Jill's intention all along, to remind everyone that blessings don't come without battles, that joy doesn't erase division, and that even in the holiest spaces, not every hand lifted in praise is truly rejoicing. One viral comment read, "It wasn't a pregnancy announcement, it was a warning cloaked in joy." Another user wrote, "If you know the Swaggart family history, you know Jill was saying more than we think." Historical patterns in the Swaggart family. To truly grasp the weight of Jill's words, one must revisit the history of the Swaggart dynasty. Jimmy Swaggart's downfall in the 1980s left scars the church never fully healed from. Even in repentance, the shadow of scandal lingered. Donnie Swaggart's fiery sermons often stirred controversy, but his place in the family ensured his voice carried. Francis Swaggart's dominance in financial and organizational matters has been both praised and criticized. Gabriel Swaggart's role as heir apparent has always been sensitive, as some fear nepotism, while others see divine succession. Now, Jill's pregnancy adds another layer. To some, it secures the family's legacy. To others, it magnifies internal rivalry. Her line about not everyone rejoicing fits eerily into this pattern. History shows the Swaggarts thrive in public, but often struggle in private. A psychological breakdown of Jill's words. Why did Jill repeat the line? Why stress the idea of true love in the middle of joy? Psychologists who analyzed the clip suggested three possibilities. Defensive projection. Jill may have subconsciously felt that some people were not truly happy for her, so she voiced it as a shield. Strategic emphasis. The repetition was intentional to ensure her message landed with the target she wanted to hear it. Emotional overflow. Pregnancy hormones, emotional pressure, and the stage could have blended to produce a raw, unrehearsed statement. Whichever it was, the effect was undeniable.